Welcome to the Manifesting Millions podcast. I am your host, Rashida McFerren. And today in the Rich Auntie Life series, we are talking about 3 tips that nobody tells you about down payment assistance in order to purchase your home. But first, I want you to head over to Rashida.ai and grab your Manifesting Millions freebie, and then come back over here and spend a good 10 or 15 to 20 minutes with us as we talk about the tips that nobody gives you the tea on, okay? Number one, middle income earners qualify too, which means that you don't have to be a low income level to qualify for down payment assistance. I believe the cap is up to like 118, so you can make $100,000 or a little over that in order to be able to qualify for down payment assistance. Specifically here in Texas, if you are in a different location, you want to check your state and local guidelines to see what the cap is on the income, but it's based on the area limits and where you are purchasing your home. The other thing is, a lot of people misconstrue the fact that they think they can't qualify because they make too much money. That is not the case, especially here in Texas. There are so many programs that are available for Texans to become homeowners, or if you're coming and you're a relo, right? You relocated from another state and you're making Texas your home. There are so many programs that qualify you to be able to assist in purchasing that brand new fancy 2 or 3,000 or 4,000 square foot home. Number two, some programs are grants, not loans, which means that once they give you the money, say they give you $20,000, they give a percentage of that money that you stay in the home each year. They'll forgive that amount, and it turns out actually being more of a grant than a loan. Now, it may start out as a loan, but the more you stay in the property over time, that's money you get back by committing to the responsibilities of home ownership and being in that property for a long period of time. Technically, it's free money just based on the certain amount of time that you're going to be staying there. And most people are buying their primary residences anyway. And so they're planning to be there a little over 5 years. Number three, it isn't just for first time buyers. So if you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years, you might still qualify as technically being a first time home buyer. That gives you kind of a leeway in regards of an entry into getting that free money. I know specifically for the state of Texas, I am a licensed realtor. I am also licensed in the state of Tennessee, but my realtor license there is retired currently for now because I am not actively practicing in that state. But I do know in Dallas and in Houston, 12, 13 years ago, when we first got here, the down payment assistance in Dallas was $20,000. It has now been increased to $50,000 if you buy within the Dallas city limits. And for Houston, I believe it was $10 to $15,000 12 years ago. Now they've increased that to $30,000 as long as you are buying within. So it has to be a Houston, Texas property zip code. That is an amazing amount of money to be able to assist you in getting started and buying your dream home. The beautiful thing about Texas is it's not like all the other states where you have to quote unquote crawl before you walk. You can come here. So say you're coming from California. I've been doing a lot of California content about the people who are relocating from California to Texas because they're trying to get away from the crazy taxes, the crazy income state tax. And I know the beach is beautiful, but honey, a 2 hour flight from here to Cancun will put you back in the Caribbean, or at least the Gulf of Mexico in Cancun, right? You're not necessarily really losing anything. Now, I do understand that people are concerned about, I guess, the political attitudes of the people here. Number one, this is the South, so people are generally nice. But I'm not going to say you're not going to run into those randos who are very Southern to their core type stuff and think this is still 1902. Okay. You just have to be a little mindful of that. It's a really diverse city to live in. Dallas, actually, both Dallas and Houston. There are very big differences between the two cities. I think of Dallas as Houston's big sister. Way more mature, way more stable, way more conservative. I'll say that. And the thing about Dallas, the DFW economy is going to be stable. It's going to be thriving. There are going to be businesses moving here every year. We have Y'all Street coming here next year to Dallas. That is going to be a huge impact to the Dallas just economic sector as a whole. If you don't know what Y'all Street is Texas's version of Wall Street. We're going to have our own stock exchange here in Texas. I'm so excited about it. It's the first outside of Chicago and outside of New York. It's the first state outside of those two states to have its own exchange. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. So with Houston is going to be way more social. It's going to attract the younger crowd. You don't have zoning laws that are as strict in Houston. You may have $1 million house be built next to a food truck. That's the one thing I have not necessarily liked about Houston. You have to be really particular in reference to the property and the area you pick, because one minute you'll be in a nice area, you drive half a minute down the street and you straight up in a hood. No matter what culture it is, it turns real hood real quick. And so you have to be mindful of that when you're purchasing in Houston. Houston, I feel like, okay, so we've been in Dallas for 13 years. I feel like Houston is way bigger than Dallas. And I think because Houston doesn't have a mass transit train system like Dallas does, you kind of get a more disadvantage in regards to having to be in your car for long periods of time because they don't have that train or rail system in place. With Dallas, that train, it might be a little hood, but regular folks ride that train. When I was going downtown every day to the office and driving from Plano, I started taking the train in because I was tired of sitting in traffic for 2 hours every day. And it saved me so much headache and the stress of having to drive up and drive down and fight traffic to get here, to get there. I just jumped on the train and I started doing it regularly. Now, the pain of riding the train is that you're going to come in contact with some crazies. Okay. But I've noticed that if you stay further to the front of the train, you tend to be able to avoid them a little more. And then just in the mornings and the evenings, of course, the trains are packed because everybody's getting off work. And for Dallas, nobody lives really downtown. Everyone lives in a suburb. And so you're going to be in the middle of rush traffic or high traffic volume as far as people getting on and off the train because people are going to their respective destinations. Now in Houston, it just ain't there. I don't know why it's not there. The funny thing is, like, Houston is built after Sam Houston, and I think he was a New Yorker. And so if they came from New York all those many years ago, why didn't they think to put a train system in place? They knew it was going to be an important part of mass transportation for the city. I think with Houston, you have to be a lot more diligent and strategic into where you set up your life because you really don't want to be sitting in traffic the whole day. And in Houston, I know Dallas, we always have traffic, but Houston is different. So I remember we were coming back from spring break, I want to say 2 years ago. I feel like it was 2023 or 2022. I'm not sure. But we did the Woodlands Resort, and it was just kind of like a family resort just to get away from the DFW area. And we did that for a few days. And then we drove down to Galveston. Before we came back, we drove back on a Sunday. Now, what I did not know is that I was putting myself in the middle of traffic. Even though we drove down to Galveston early, we stayed in Galveston, I think maybe 4 hours. And so we jumped on the road right at 1 o'clock. Yeah, that was a big mistake. Okay, trying to go through the middle of the city on a Sunday. Yeah, no. We were in traffic for well over an hour. And then by that point, everybody was trying to go back to wherever they were coming from in Texas. And a lot of people were trying to go back to Dallas. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm not the only one that had this idea of, like, we'll take a mini staycation and go down to Houston for a couple of days and then come back to Dallas. Yeah, we were in traffic for at least 3 to 4 hours going back 45 north. And so when we did it again last year, I made sure that we got out of the Houston area before like 9 o'clock because I didn't want to get stuck in traffic. And then I made sure that we were on the right side of the city instead of being at the bottom of the city. But like stuff like that, you have to take into account because it's going to take you so much extra time to get to wherever you're going when you're traveling in Houston. But those are the top 3 tips for down payment assistance and purchasing a home. Again, I am a Texas realtor. You can find my information over at Rashida.ai and or RashidaTheRealtor.com. And I hope that the information that I provided today is going to be helpful to you and lets you know that you can be much closer to purchasing your dream home than you realize, right? And that's what I'm here for. I'm here to help you find your dream home. I specialize in helping homeowners and specifically new owners purchase their dream homes, because here in Texas, what is a 4,000 square foot house that may cost you $5 million in LA County costs you $8 to $9,000 here. And you would never be able to own that in like California. The taxes alone would kill you. So, when I tell all my California friends on my social media, especially my TikTok page, hey, Texas is welcoming you with open arms if you're ready to get out the rat race. Well, it's still going to be a race here, but it may not necessarily be as grimy. But you'll at least be able to come home to your huge 3 to 4,000 square foot house and be able to park your car in a garage and not on the street. Right. In decent areas and go to amazing schools. And if you have not been to Texas, the high schools literally look like colleges. Literally. They're huge. So it's an experience. I specifically moved to Texas. I was at Wells Fargo. I was doing a deal and I feel like I was refinancing a property that was about to go bad. And it was like a $300,000. I had to do a BPO on it, which is a broker's opinion. And I pulled the property up, and in my system, I'm sitting there looking at the computer screen like, that house is like 4,000 square feet and it costs $300,000. Oh, we moving to Texas. This is probably like 2009. And then the more I did deals in Texas and I saw how they were living, I was like, you know what? At the time, we were on the East Coast and we were in Charlotte. Charlotte was nice, but I hate cold weather. And if you know anything about the East Coast, it's always cold, it's always snowing, and it's always raining. More so snowing than raining. But I was like, yeah, after our little initial entry period of my son getting to an age where, he's getting ready to get in school, I want us to live our life like his secondary education in Texas. And that's what we did. Again, if you didn't grab your freebie, head over to Rashida.ai, grab your Manifesting Millions freebie, and leave us a 5-star review if you've liked anything that you've heard today here on Spotify and on Apple. It helps our listenership grow. And that is all for now. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.